So you're interested in buying your first handgun. What do you get? There's so many options nowadays. Big guns, small guns, this safety feature, that safety feature, no safety features, revolvers, everything under the sun is available now. It's really a buyer's market. So what do you get? What do you look for? So this is just going to be my ideas, my opinions on just things you should think about. I'm not going to tell you buy this. Basically, the first thing I think you should think about is what you're going to use it for. I suggest for your first handgun it be a home defense and gun range pistol. There's other things that pistols are good for, like concealed carry, backpacking, variety of other things that you can gear a pistol towards. But you're inexperienced, I'm going to assume, and you need to get good with your pistol. So it needs to be something that you're going to practice with at the range, obviously. I mean, every pistol you should practice at the range, but you need to build pistol fundamentals, handgun fundamentals. Proper trigger press, not flinching, not basically doing it right. So I say buy a pistol, buy a handgun geared towards that, towards gun range use and home defense use. So in that line of thinking, I say don't buy a pistol that does everything. For example, the first pistol I bought was this Glock 26. It's a great handgun. Great handgun. I have to admit, it's the gun I shoot the least out of all of them, though. Because, I mean, it works as a good home defense gun, but if I was using a gun for home defense, I'd be going towards its big brother, the Glock 17. This is a 17C, by the way. Because it has a full grip, longer sight radius. It's a little heavier, so it recoils less, snaps less than the Glock 26. So Glock 26, your pinky's hanging out in the middle of nowhere here. Shorter sight radius, and for new shooters, it's harder to shoot because you get a little scared of it because it snaps like crazy compared to the bigger guns. I have like some new female shooters that I've brought now. Absolutely hate this gun because they shoot it and they've got no pinky supporting down at the bottom. It just snaps like crazy for them, and it shoots the same ammunition as its big brother here. Those same people go, "Oh, this was a nice pistol." When they go to shoot this, it's practically the same gun, but it's just ergonomically better. It snaps less. It's easier to learn on because of that, etc. So a home defense gun, I would suggest being a full-size handgun. Now, handguns are generally available in 3 different sizes: full-size, compact, and subcompact. A lot of people have opinions all across the board. I say to consider a full-size pistol. The compact size, I don't really understand why you'd want to use it. It's supposed to be so it's slightly smaller, so maybe you can carry it more. But the subcompact, like the Glock 26 here, beats it every time for a carry gun as far as you carrying it regularly, because the bigger the gun is, the less likely you're going to carry it. You're out with your shorts on, you're going to carry a medium-sized gun. Even this one's a little big. I'd rather carry something along the lines of this little 380 if I'm wearing shorts. This is a SIG P238, by the way. One of my favorite. It's probably my favorite 380. So that's the first thing. I'd suggest you consider a full-size pistol. Easier to learn on because it'll recoil less, snap less. You won't learn bad habits as much with a full-size gun, and it's easier to shoot accurately if you're actually under attack. Even at the range, it's easier to shoot accurately. The next thing, after the size is considered, the next thing I think you should look at is the safety features on the gun. Now, a lot of new people would think, well, safety features, I want the most safety features I got. I'm a responsible individual. Well, the safety features aren't the same as, everybody should be safe with the way they store their gun when it's not on their person, when it's not in your hand or in a holster or under your immediate control. It should be locked up in a safe. It should be away from children, that type of thing. It should be away from thieves as much as you can. I mean, no gun safe is going to keep out a determined thief, but you can definitely slow them down and make them not want to be in your house with a hacksaw open in your safe when you get home. So back to safety features. Safety features don't replace that. This gun right here, the HK USP 45, has several safety features. It has a thumb safety, safe, fire, safe. It has a double action to single action transition. So the first shot is a pretty long pull, and then after the gun cycles, it ends up cocked back for all subsequent ones are these short ones. I say this is not a good first pistol for somebody because of all these. First off, double action, single action. Some people love it. I think it's hard to learn on. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't get one eventually. Doesn't mean it won't be your favorite eventually. But having two different trigger press weights here is going to make it hard to learn consistent trigger press. And consistent trigger press is how you get accurate shots, how you learn how to shoot. Secondly, having the safety, it doesn't matter at the range for this situation, because at the range you'll just take it off safety. But say somebody busts in your house, it's 3 in the morning, you reach for your nightstand where you've got your pistol, let's say, you go to grab it and you go to fire. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? It hits you with a hammer, you're done, But because in that panic mode, in that high adrenaline, thinking about safety, not about the features of the gun, you just forgot to do that. So I think this is probably a poor choice for a novice. It's got lots of safety features, but I think it might be a mistake. Same thing with like a 1911. This is a SIG 1911, the SIG 1911 Nitron rail. I think it's a great pistol. It has 2 major safety features. So it's got this grip safety, so you have to make sure you've got a secure grip here, which you should anyway. But somebody's busting into your bedroom, you might have your thumb a little back. So you have to make sure you do that. And when the pistol's cocked, you'd store it like that if you're ready to rock here. You have to remember to take it off safety. What this does have, though, that's great for novice shooters is a really light and short trigger press. That's absolutely great. It will help you stay on target. It's also a very heavy gun as far as today's pistols are concerned, which is a benefit. I mean, not for backpacking this around, but the heavier the gun is, the less it's going to snap when you fire, the less it's going to recoil, perceived recoil, and makes it easier to not learn bad habits. Makes it easier to learn good habits, staying on target for the full length of your trigger press. Because one of the hardest things for you to do is to stay with your sights fully aligned as you're pressing the trigger. Because it's really easy to go a little bit off to the side as you're pressing it. So a light trigger is good for that. But back to the safety features. You got a pistol like this Glock 17 again. It has virtually no safety features. When it's cocked and ready to go, all it has is this little nub thing on the trigger that they call the safe action trigger. And without that depress, it doesn't work. But you got your finger on the trigger, and you pick this gun up, it's going to start firing as soon as you start pressing the trigger. And the trigger is the same amount of pressure every time you press it as well. So there isn't that double action, single action like that USP has. So I would suggest minimizing the safety features on a first handgun that you're going to use for self-defense. There's a feature I don't have on any of these pistols here, but there's a feature called a magazine disconnect, where if you remove the magazine, it acts as a safety. And even if you have one in the chamber with no say you have external safety, even with one in the chamber, it doesn't let you press the trigger as a safety feature. It's really for dumbasses who think they remove the magazine and the gun is safe. Jeez, people, you need to remove the rounds from the chamber when you safe your weapon like that. So the problem with that, that sounds like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. The problem with that is, especially on a small pistol like this, if you have small hands like me on a big gun, it's not as big of a deal. If you have big hands, like a lot of people do, big hands on a big gun, it's just as big of a deal as this gun. You pull this out, you go to defend yourself with it, and you accidentally bump the magazine release. Now your weapon is completely disabled with a magazine lock safety. Your weapon's completely disabled, where normally you'd get at least one freaking more round in. Now it's disabled. Why isn't it working? Oh, my safety's off, my safety's off. Oh, you don't notice that your magazine's popped out a millimeter. Push it back in, gun's ready to rock. Now this doesn't have that feature. There is a version of this that does, but I personally would never buy a pistol with that feature. I mean, unless I really dug the gun, but I wouldn't. I think it's a bad idea. So I suggest getting a pistol with none of that stuff. Just because this is your life you're talking about, you need the gun to work. Another reason not to have it is for the super tactical guys will tell you this reason is say you're in the middle of a firefight, you know, and you've got 3 rounds left in the magazine, and you're hiding behind something. You can quickly pull this out and go to pop in a new one, but if the dude jumps around the corner, you got 1 round before you've put the new magazine. That's a reason to. In your house, is that really going to be a big deal? You're not going to have, in your pajamas, you're not going to have extra magazines in your pockets anyways, so I don't know. But that is another reason why people say not to get that feature. Should you get a revolver? Revolvers are renowned for their reliability. I say some of that's exaggerated. This is an old Smith & Wesson 686. I love this one. I bought this. I mean, this is the only revolver I own. But I bought this revolver because I wanted some classic-looking revolver. This is an early 1980s make. That is one of the earliest 686s. It still has the firing pin on the hammer, which they don't do anymore. But should you get a revolver? I think you should tend away from those, because back to the trigger, you've got this long double action trigger pull. It's easy to accidentally get a little off target as you're pressing that. But Joe, just pull back the hammer and you're in single action. Well, yeah, I do that at the gun range a lot, so that I've got this super light hair trigger. I mean, it's incredibly light. It's the lightest trigger I've got out of any gun when I do that. And I can put rounds right on top of each other through paper doing that. But in a self-defense situation, you're not going to Old West style fan this thing, you know. You're not going to do that. You're not going to be pulling this back and doing that every time you fire. You're going to be double action. So, on just the trigger reason alone, I would suggest you tend away from a revolver. That's as your first gun. Should you get what caliber should you get? What caliber should you get? The major calibers for a semi-automatic pistol are going to be 9mm, 45 ACP, and 40 Smith & Wesson. There's also 10mm, like this pistol. This is my backpacking pistol, for example. And there are, for the revolver, usually you're doing 38 Special, 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum. For the little carry guns, you can get down into 380. 380 it's acceptable for carry, but when you're talking home defense, you should probably go no less than 9mm, no less than 38 Special. I would suggest going to the bottom of that, though. Now, some people will say, well, it's 45 ACP or nothing. Well, really, you're trying to learn with this gun as much as defend yourself with. You know what I'm saying? So you want something with the lightest recoil, lightest snap for your first gun, in my opinion. So something like this this is 9mm. They make this gun in higher calibers, of course, but in 9mm, it's very light to shoot. And this thing, since it's the C version, is compensating on the top. It's even it's ridiculously light because it forces the muzzle down for you a little bit. I'm not necessarily saying get that feature, but 9mm in a full-size pistol doesn't kick much at all. So you're gonna be able to learn shooting fundamentals with minimizing the chance that you learn bad habits. That's my suggestion. Later, for your next pistol, go 40, go 45 ACP. I personally don't own any 40s because I'd rather go 45 ACP or 10mm here and just skip the 40 Smith & Wesson because it's kind of in the middle. Just it's around 45 ACP, but it's I just don't see as much reason for it. Some people love it though. So I would just suggest 9mm as something you should at least consider. Now, what about extra accessories on the gun? You see I've got lights on some of these guns. Do you need a light on your gun? Not necessarily, but here's the way I think about it. When are you going to need to defend yourself at home? It's probably going to be dark out. It's probably going to be low light or no light situations. Now, do you want to be walking around your house flipping lights on when somebody's busting through your house? No. You're going to want light in your hand. There's every year there's a small number of very unfortunate situations where somebody hears rustling around in their house they don't expect. It's 3 in the morning, windows cracked open, somebody's coming in through the window. So they come out with their pistol. They think they're being attacked, and they put 3 rounds in the person coming in. And it turns out to be a relative, like their daughter went out to a boyfriend's house at night and is sneaking back in the house. This very tragic situation. Or somebody getting a snack in the middle of the night, and they didn't think that's what it was. They thought it was somebody coming into a home invasion starting. Well, those could be prevented if you put light on target and identified your target. It's your responsibility to identify what you're shooting at. Don't just go shooting at dark figures in your house. You don't know who it is. So I suggest for any home defense pistol that there's a light on it for that specific reason. Now, another feature for low light situations is night sights. These are tritium night sights I added to this pistol. I don't know if Glock puts them on factory anymore. These aren't Glock factory. These are True Glows. I think they are a great feature because in low light you'll be able to see the 3 dots. This is a 3-dot pattern. There's other different patterns. Glock factory typically uses this box pattern, which works. It's not my favorite, but it works. So I usually switch them out to a 3-dot variety, like what I did with this Glock 29. It's not required, but in a low light situation, it helps. So why not? Other than the money. I haven't done it to every handgun I have, but I don't think it's a bad idea to do it to everyone. Do you need a laser on it? You know, I don't know. This one has a combination. It's the Streamlight TLR4. It's got a combination laser and flashlight, so you can have both on at once. Do you need a laser? Well, you can shoot at stuff without looking down the sights, I suppose. It's not a bad idea. Say you can have the pistol. It doesn't have to be perfectly lined up. You might be able to shoot faster with it that way. You'd want to practice with it. So I'm not going to say either way, but it's just something to consider. What else? Should you buy really expensive upgrades on the guns? Should you do light in the triggers? I think you should get good with your pistol. You don't need to do crazy stuff to it. I usually lighten the triggers on like Glocks, for example. I'm not this uber everybody needs a Glock fan, but Glocks are proven. There's other competing polymer designs that other people rave about, XDs, for example. Do you need to do that? Well, it doesn't necessarily hurt. It doesn't hurt. Last thing I want to talk about is the gun also needs to be something that excites you. You need to enjoy the gun. You need to enjoy it. It needs to feel good in hand. It needs to fit your hand, but it also needs to be something that you think is cool, because you need to go practice with this gun. If it's a boring gun, you're not going to want to go down to the range, because it won't seem as much entertainment as it will a chore. You need it to be entertainment to show up to the range, shooting your cool pistol, practicing with it, so that you get good enough to where if you had to use it, you would be able to hit what you're trying to hit. You don't want to put rounds through the walls in your neighbor's house. You want to hit your target. So I suggest it be something cool. I had this Duracoated in this camo pattern because I think it's cool. I like shooting it. People end up commenting on it. Whoa, I've never seen a Glock like that. So I think it's cool. I try to buy handguns that I think are cool. This one, for example, is in a somewhat more rare color configuration. They call this the rainbow for the P238, I believe. Every gun I have, I think, is cool in some manner. These bottom three are actually not legal to be sold by dealers in California. You can only buy on private party. I bought these all private party, so they're cool just for that reason, because I show up to the range with them, and people say, "Are you a cop or something?" Because cops could buy them new. I'm like, no. They're confused how I even have it. I didn't break any laws. They're totally legal the way I purchased them, but you just don't see them that often, so that's one reason why I have them. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss. I'm not going to say get a Glock. I think Glock is a good choice. I'm not going to say don't get any other guns. But really, I suggest for your home defense gun to buy a full-size handgun, minimize the safety features, go lighter on the caliber, 9mm for example, and go and get a light on it for your home defense. I wouldn't buy one without a light, at least the ability to add one later. For example, on this 1911, I don't plan on using this as my home defense gun because I got other ones I would rather choose, but I got it with the rail, which isn't a very common 1911 feature. It's more common now, but more of them still don't have it. Just because if I ever wanted to, I could add one to it. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.